Hello, we're creating a simple 2-flower boutonniere today with our boutonniere craft kit. And we're just going to review a little bit about what comes in your kit, and then we're going to make this easy peasy boutonniere here. So we have a 2-inch flower, you'll have a mini, you'll have 2 leaves, you have your 2 wires for your flowers, we have some fillers that we're going to go in there, and we will have twine to wrap up your stems. So we're going to start by stemming our flowers first. So on the back of our flower, we're just going to put a drop of hot glue in there, and we're going to put our wire stem. And we're going to do the same for our mini as well. Now for your taping up of your boutonniere, you can use floral tape, you can use vinyl tape, or you can use electrical tape. So I suggest electrical tape. It's easy to work with, it's stretchy, you can pull it nice and tight, and it makes a nice smooth wrapping, and that's what I'm going to use today. I've already got my piece ready to go. All right, so my first step I'm going to do is I'm going to take my green leaves, and I'm actually going to glue them together in a V shape. So let me hold it up that way. I'm going to glue them so they don't move. It makes taping easier. So on one of the leaves, I'm just going to put a little glue on one side of it, and then I'm going to just put that right in there. Careful, it does get hot through the fabric even. And you've got your 2 leaves like that. You're going to leave your little nubs here because that's going to get taped in to the boutonniere as well. Then you have your 2 flowers, and we're going to combine those. And I like to do the same thing. Everything I do, I just put a little glue to seal it. It just makes it easier to move, because sometimes when you work with something small like a boutonniere, like it's kind of like micro, and so it's a little difficult sometimes to maneuver. So I'm just going to put a little drop of glue, and I'm going to hold my flower. Now my mini, I'm going to put, now I like to put it down to the left, but I'm going to put it a little bit lower than my flower, and down to the left. Okay, that's how I make mine. Of course it's reverse when I show it to you, but what you'll see what I'm looking at the same way. Okay, so again, I put a little glue so that it doesn't move around when I'm going to tape it, and I'm going to lay that on my leaf. Now we are going to hold the leaf nubs and my flowers on the wire together, and we're going to just fill in filler in between the 2 and filler in front. I like the ones in front because it covers any of your little bottoms, you know, it'll make it more realistic. So I'm going to actually split my filler here. I probably won't need this much filler, but you can use as much filler as you want. We give enough to kind of be either fuller with filler, or you can be a little thinner with filler. Of course, that's going to be your own personal choice, but we give plenty to make 2 decent sized bundles. So I'm going to make 2 bundles. Okay, and so my first bundle is going to go behind. So I'm going to grab that onto the leaf. Then I'm going to put my flowers. Okay, so do you see how I've got the fillers in between? And I've got my flowers and my greens. I'm holding it at the bottom. And I'm actually going to put a little dot of glue on the leaf to touch onto that flower so we don't have any movement. Oh, I made a little glue web. If you've watched our videos before, if you do get glue webs, the little strings from the hot glue, you just use a hairdryer on the hot setting and it melts them away. Okay, so now I've got, like I say, I've got webs everywhere. Here we go. Okay, so I've got my filler behind, in between my 2 little babies. And then I'm going to take my other bundle and I'm going to put that also in between the flowers, but on the bottom. So I'm going to hold it. So as you can see, I've covered up the gap on the bottom, and I've covered up the gap on the top. Now there's no gaps. It covers any wires, covers any of the bottoms of the flowers. So now it looks super realistic. You can't tell that these were not fresh flowers. And you've got all your gaps covered. Okay, so once you've got that pinched there, and you can use more tape. So if you feel like you're holding on to it and things are kind of falling, again, I do like to put the glue in there to hold it there so that I'm not counting on my hand necessarily to like hold it into spot. But even if you glue those, you may want to tape multiple times if it's your first time doing this. That way you don't have to worry about letting go of it and accidentally moving things. But because I've sealed everything with glue, I'm pretty good here. I only need one piece of tape. So I'm going to go ahead and tape it off. Now, when I'm taping, I want to start as high up as possible. And I'm just going to pull nice and tight my tape, and my leaves will go back. Okay, and again, so I've taped it, but I taped it all the way up as high as possible because you don't want to go low because then it could be loose, and plus you'll see wires and stems. So I've taped it all the way up as high as I could, and now I'm gonna seal those leaves one more time on the stuff in front of it with the glue. That way it doesn't poke out or anything like that. And I'm just gonna hold it for a second while that dries. That just ensures that my shape will always stay the way it needs to. Now I'm gonna I like a shorter stem. I don't really like a very long stem, so I kept mine pretty short with my tape. But even if you went all the way down with your tape, just to keep it nice and tight, you can just cut it literally right over your tape line. And you just wanna do it. Now some people also like the little fillers sticking out at the bottom. So don't feel like you have to have it taped all the way down. You could leave a little bit of a sprig of the fillers at the bottom so it looks a little natural, a little more rustic when it hangs out. But I've got it cut straight, nice and flat, as you can see. I was just holding my leaves while it's drying. Again, the 2-inch flower, my mini, again, I glued those together so that they wouldn't rotate or move. I glued my leaves together so they wouldn't rotate and move. I glued the flowers to the leaves, and I have my fillers in both of my gaps. So it's very easy to remember where to put your fillers because it's in the gap on the top and the bottom, and that's super easy. Now we're just gonna tie up the cover up, not tie it up, but cover up our stem tape. You can use other things. We give twine because it's one of the most popular looks. And you can use ribbon or anything else, but this comes with twine. So what I'm gonna do is I put a dot of glue on the bottom, a little bead of it, and I'm just gonna hold it. Now, just be careful you don't burn yourself. I'm gonna hold the top of the twine right there on that bead. Now, again, we're gonna come in and trim these little things, so don't worry if it hangs over or has glue things at all. But as you can see, let me just show you. I've glued it like that. I'm gonna put a little glue up the back so that when it starts, it's gonna catch in that glue first. And I'm just gonna wrap and wrap until I get all the way to the top. Now, if you feel like you might be a little loose, feel free to put another little dot. Make sure you put the glue in the back in case it seeps through, but you can put another little glue dot and that'll just hold it extra tight while you're spinning it around. And I want to make sure that I go all the way up to cover up my tape. I'll hold it closer in 1 second. And I want to end always in the back. Okay, so you can see. So I want to end in the back, so I'm going to clip that. And what I'm gonna do is see my little piece here that I have left, that's my end. I'm actually gonna put glue directly on the end, let it cool just for a second, and then I'm gonna put it over. You wanna let it cool, don't stick your hand into the burning hot glue, let it cool for just a second, it'll still be wet enough to slide over. But you see how I have a nice end there in the back. And you can get boutonniere pins, you can attach safety pins, you can do magnets. If you're gonna do a magnet, you can glue the magnets on the back here. But see how we have a nice edge? And then the bottom, if you had like, you know, the starter is a little frayed, I'm gonna just snip that. And what I like to do is I like to put a little blob of glue at the bottom and make a little circle of glue. If you lick your finger, I know it sounds weird, but it'll keep it from burning and it lets you be able to touch the glue to seal it off. Now you don't have to do that. Some people also put the glue on, and if you have like a placemat, like a vinyl or plastic placemat, you can just press it down onto that, and when you lift it up, it'll leave a flat edge. and you don't have to touch it. But if you wait for it to cool, I'm a little bit impatient, so I never like to wait till it cools. I just go boop, boop, and pat, pat. But you can wait till it cools and then touch that if you want, just to make it a very, very solid edge. But you don't have to do that. That's just if you're not wanting that little bit of a fray look. If it has it. If you can get a little tiny scissor and cut those frays, you won't have to worry about it either. But that's just a tip if you're wanting a nice flat bottom. And of course, your boutonniere usually, I think, goes on the same side as the pocket. Again, there's multiple ways you can attach them, pins or magnets or any of those kind of things. But here's our fully formed. Again, we've got the leaves, we've got our 2 flowers, we filled in our gaps with our fillers, and we finished it off with twine. And it's a perfect little set for a groom or a father or prom or any of those kind of things. Again, our flowers can be dyed. You can always swap out, even dye, if you have dyed flowers from an assortment, you can swap out 1 or 2 of the flowers and make them colored or dye them on your own. And that's how you make a simple 2-flower boutonniere.